group calls itself Barabbas. The historical Barabbas was a rebel, a murderer, and a thief. But most importantly, he was the man in whose place Jesus was crucified. Other groups content themselves simply with mocking the Lord's name. This album by Styx is entitled Cornerstone. Styx, significantly enough, is the Greek name for the mythological river that runs through hell. There is obvious religious symbology here: the robe, the light, and the sense of discovery. What is important to note here is that the album title, Cornerstone, is, throughout the Bible, a title for the Messiah. The title carries with it enormous significance because it illuminates the principle that God is building for himself a spiritual house made up of living stones, the people of God. This is only possible because of what Jesus did on the cross. In other words, the house can be built because the cornerstone has been laid. The new cornerstone, according to Styx, is some kind of vague totem or astrological symbol. Another way that Jesus is maligned is to group him with every other religious figure and organization known to man. This heresy, known as universalism, is extremely popular with 20th century rationalistic man. Pictorially, the concept is represented in this album by Creedence Clearwater Revival's John Fogerty. Note the light passing from Buddha through the crown of thorns, suggesting that not only are the two religions essentially the same, but if anything, Buddha and Krishna have ascendance over the Messiah. Likewise, the inside of this album by Earth, Wind, and Fire shows various religious symbols: Christian, the cross and the Star of David, mixed in with symbols for Hinduism, Buddhism, the occult, and even humanism as represented by the bust of Voltaire. The album title says it all in all. In other words, it's all the same thing. There are many paths to the same God or gods. Musically, this heresy is perhaps best represented by ex-Beatle George Harrison off his Somewhere in England album.
They call you Christ, Vishnu, Buddha, Jehovah, Lord. You are Govindam, Vishnu, Creator of all.
As good as all this sounds to the carnal mind, and as well as it fits into our relativistic society, there is one big problem. It's dead wrong. Just about every religion in the world includes Jesus in its lineup of spiritual superstars, but we have irrefutable evidence that Jesus totally denied the availability of any other way to God except through himself. John 14:6 quotes Jesus when he said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me." Elsewhere, he actually warns against doctrines that would attempt to deny or expand this as heresies and satanic in their origins. Think about it for a second. If universalism is true, then not only is Jesus a liar for saying it was wrong, but he is also the stupidest man that ever lived, because he voluntarily underwent the most excruciating and shameful death imaginable for no reason at all. Ultimately, what C.S. Lewis said has got to be true. Jesus was either a lunatic, a liar, or Lord. His life, death, and resurrection prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that the latter is the case. Satan, however, will do anything to convince man to the contrary. Besides attacking Jesus personally, Satan also attacks the representative of Christ on earth, his church. The angel of self-deceit is camped in the souls of the righteous. The eternal flame of power through joy dwelleth within the flesh of the Satanist. This theme is prevalent in rock music also. Graham Central Station advocates releasing yourself from the confines of Christian morality. Black Market Baby sings a song entitled Downward Christian Soldiers. The Talking Heads' new album, Little Creatures, features artwork that is exclusively focused on mocking the church and the Word of God. A new world is coming down from on high. Satan is being loosed from his prison for a short season to destroy. And I'm a red light from God. In the face of this mockery and spiritual weirdness, David Byrne, the leader of the group, is shown carrying the world on his shoulders and is likened to perhaps the greatest Old Testament hero and friend of God, King David, the author of the Psalms. The group church shows a church that is fallen and is broken and headless. This album is by Exodus. The name, of course, is taken from the Old Testament account of the people of God, the church in modern language, as they journeyed to the promised land. Here we see the church bonded by blood to a demonic entity that is the mirror image of itself. The theological implications of this image are profound and go well beyond the knowledge of the average person who might desire to mock God and his church. Perhaps the most effective way to attack something is to suggest that there are equally viable alternatives. Remember, this type of substitution is implicit in the definition of Antichrist. Christianity says that man is hopelessly lost and needs a supernatural redeemer. Every other religion in the world says, in one way or another, that man is not really that bad and that through his own efforts he can redeem himself. Put simply, say unto thine own heart, I am mine own redeemer. Rock is filled with alternatives to Christianity. John Denver, on the back of one of his albums, admits that his music is a vehicle for sharing his religion, in this case a cult called Est, which perfectly exemplifies this idea that man can save himself. My purpose in performing is to communicate the joy I experience in living. It is the aliveness already within you that my music is intended to reach. Participating in Est has created an amazing amount of space for joy and aliveness in my life. It pleases me to share Est with you. An article in Time magazine explains Denver's basic philosophy. As a self-appointed messiah, Denver views his music as far more than just entertainment. He sees it as a tool to promote the gospel of a new secular religion. The leaders of this religion claim to control the universe and claim to be gods. Someday I'll be so complete I won't even be human. I'll be a god. Another alternative that is both unusual and remarkable in its resurgent popularity is the Celtic or Druid religion. The Druids were certifiable Satanists and witches who, during the Dark Ages, practiced everything from human sacrifice to orgies relating to fertility rituals. Whole areas of Europe were in subjection to them through fear. Horselips offers up a Celtic symphony and on the back gives some Druid history as well as some instructions to the potential initiate on how to worship in the Celtic tradition. Van Morrison, in an interview with Rolling Stone, listed, among other things, Celtic literature as contributing to his recent spiritual rebirth. Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates fame also admits to being a follower of Celtic religion. An admitted initiate of magic, he claims his song, Winged Bull, is dedicated to the ancient Celtic religion. His adult education, one of the most popular videos of 1984, incorporates elements of some type of ritual that clearly has its roots in the occult. Another alternative to Christianity that is being presented is rock and roll itself. Guitarist Craig Chichico of Jefferson Starship said, "Rock concerts are the churches of today. Music puts them on a spiritual plane. All music is God." Leon Russell, patriarch of the rock and roll faith, said, "I'd like to say that organized Christianity has done more harm than any other single force I can think of in the world." His alternative? The religion of rock and roll. You will note the design on the front of his shirt. It's not any accident that rock stars are often called idols. The lords of the new church have already answered their own question: is anything sacred? Every religion needs its gurus. Does rock and roll have any? How about this man, Aleister Crowley? Crowley is one of the most famous Satanists of all time. He actually renamed himself the Beast 666, a name for Satan incarnate. This picture shows him at the age of 37. That's what living for the devil will do for you. The Beatles, on their Sgt. Pepper album, had their favorite people drawn on the album cover. Second from the left is the old beast himself. Ozzy Osbourne sings a song entitled Mr. Crowley, and here the Doors are shown huddled around a miniature bust of the infamous Satanist. Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page now lives in Crowley's old home. Every religion also needs its symbols. This is Anton LaVey, the author of the Satanic Bible. He is the founder and leader of the Church of Satan in America, a church that claims some 10,000 members. This hand symbol, the Coronado, or Devil's Triad, with the two fingers extended, is an ancient symbol for the great horn hunter, Satan. Here it is used on this overtly Antichrist album by Ronnie James Dio. Here's Dio himself, arms lifted in a typical concert pose. The cornado has become standard fare at rock concerts. Some of you watching may have even given this sign at a concert just because everybody else was. What you probably didn't know is that its roots are in the occult and that it's a universally recognized symbol for Satan.